Hello everyone, welcome to the Travel Coach, moving body, mind and spirit. My guest today is a wellness travel coach and founder of the Travel Coach Network, a growing global network of travel coaches. After traveling to 84 countries solo, she created the world's first and only certification program for travel coaches where she educates and guides other passionate travelers to build travel businesses that align with their expertise and vision. Sahara Rose De Vore, welcome to the Travel Coach.
Hi, Sonia. Thank you so much for having me.
You are much welcome. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you today, and I have lots of questions for you. But first of all, if that's okay, I would like to start with your personal story. So just to set up the scene, can you tell us more about your relationship with travel growing up? What memories do you have from that phase of your life?
Yeah, that's always a really good question because as a world traveler myself, like you said, 84 countries, you would think I started doing that as a child when actually I'm an only child to a single mom, and we were in a very medium income household. So we didn't travel often. Travel was not something that was a yearly thing. If anything, we did road trips in the family van with my grandparents every summer to go visit my grandmother's family in Mexico. So we would drive down across the country to go to Mexico to visit them. I have some recollection of those trips because I was so little, more so than the ones I did when the family van up to visit my grandfather's family in Montreal, Canada. Those I don't remember much, but that was the extent of my traveling when I was younger. And we took a couple family vacations, to Florida or to Dominican Republic was my first international one, and when I was in high school, but that was into a all-inclusive resort. So I was very, isolated from any sort of experiences outside of what the resort wanted you to experience. So I didn't have any really sense of travel or wanderlust or anything like that because it wasn't something that was ingrained in me or I was exposed to as a child. I just remember always being attracted to nature. I've always had struggled with anxiety myself, so being in nature, being outside was always a healing tool for me. So I knew that as I would see movies or magazines and photos of beautiful destinations around the world, I was starting to get a lot more interested. I'm also an Aquarius, so I always been attracted to bodies of water, the beaches. And so, which I'm sitting right in front of a beautiful
oh my God,
beach here at the moment in my hotel room. And so it just always just makes me happy. So when I graduated university, or when I went into university, I was never someone also who knew my career path. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I changed majors quite a few times. I really struggled. And I was doing a cross-country move and changing universities halfway through my college years. And I joined a hospitality and tourism management program. Just out of nowhere, I had to choose something. I had to choose a school, and I came across this program. And I joined the program, and that was the catalyst to growing my interest in traveling and the world and travel business and everything. And so when I graduated from university and from that program, I bought my one-way ticket to Ireland and my journey began.
Wow. So it came like you said you choose these studies, but were like kind of random. We're not a real passion at that moment. And then this was after that you realized that you wanted to do this more.
Yeah, it was, most people have some sort of interest in travel, right? Who doesn't want to go somewhere or travel somewhere? So when I came across this program, it was something that gave me more excitement than any other major in university. And I had such a short window of time to choose and find something. So I ran with it. I didn't know what I was going to learn about or anything, but it had the theme of travel. So I said, why not? And I learned so much through that program, and then helped me shape the future of my life and my lifestyle.
So you decided to go and backpack and go to Ireland.
Yeah, that was my very first trip. First trip solo, my first backpacking trip. I was doing Western Europe, and I chose Ireland because it was the furthest. Hi, Veerly. Veerly's in the Travel Coach Network. Ireland is the furthest country out that I was planning to go to, or that I wanted to go to. So I was just going to work my way towards the mainland. That's why I chose Ireland as my first country, which I was glad that I did, because it was a nice, it is a kind of, it's not a very intimidating place because I hadn't, I don't know how you could say, it's more westernized. Well, it's a westernized country, so it wasn't a huge shock as my first country traveling solo or as a female when I'm in my early 20s. So it was a good starter for me. And it was, you know, I speak Spanish, but it was, you know, there's English speakers and everything. So I was less intimidated and less scared to start my journey with Ireland. So I was glad that I chose that country to begin with.
Beautiful country. Yeah, that all makes sense. So was in your plan to, how many weeks were you planning to backpacking? How many countries were you planning to visit? Or you just went with the flow? How was it?
Yeah, I actually was not planning to travel very long at all. I was planning to travel I was gone for a month and a half, I believe it was. And my plan was, I mean, I just graduated university, so my plan was just like many other people's, where I was planning to come back. I was going to find a job, a company to work for, and work my way up and do what made my mom proud. And even though that didn't resonate with me, that was my game plan. But I knew, like I mentioned, I always struggled with anxiety. And so I knew that I needed this break after graduating from university to give me some time to figure out what made me happy and what I wanted. And I just allowed travel to help me identify and realize that, not knowing how long it would take or where it would go or what I would do. I just knew that, well, we all do who travel, know that travel is such a healing tool and such a transformative tool to us, that I was going to find answers to unformed questions that I had at that time in my life. And that's when I began that journey. And so I went for a month and a half, I think it was, came home for the holidays, for Christmas time, packed another bag, and I went down to Central America for 2 months after that. And I didn't stop. I kept on doing that for 10 more years.
Wow. So I'm listening to you, and it feels like you instinctively knew that travel will give you this clarity, this healing you were looking for, but nobody told you. I suppose it's something that instinctively you knew, right?
Yeah.
And you were looking for these answers to questions you didn't even know you had. What answers did you find?
What I always say, travel is my greatest professor. What doesn't travel teach us, right? We often travel and we don't realize we don't have questions to begin with oftentimes. And we come back from trips realizing that we've learned, or we've met people, or we've realized stuff about ourselves or about the world, about anything, because travel does that for you. And so I learned who I wanted to be, what truly made me happy, what kind of things mattered in my life, what things didn't matter in my life, what I valued, what kind of people I wanted to be around, what excited me. And I knew that I didn't want to have a career path that was going to dictate the rest of my life and my schedule. I knew that having this freedom to choose where I wanted to go, when I wanted to work, what I wanted to do was for me. And answering to someone else's schedule or requesting time off or asking to take time to travel somewhere was not something I was going to do the rest of my life, and I knew that. Not saying that's not for everybody. So a lot of people, enjoy that structure. But for me, traveling taught me and showed me that I need a more freedom-based lifestyle, not knowing eventually I would start two businesses, but just that was the path I was going to go down and I was going to have to figure out somehow.
So I think we lost you with the sound, Sahara. Can you hear us?
Yeah, sorry, the call came in.
Okay. Yeah, so what I hear is you were looking for something that maybe didn't exist. So what did you do when you come back? What kind of career path did you choose?
Well, yeah, of course I had to make money somehow to travel. I made my money all on my own and traveled off of my own money, which is a misconception that a lot of travelers get often, is that someone pays for their trip or anything. I've never had that out of my 74 countries that I've been to. So yes, I've worked so many different jobs. I was living in Chicago at the time, and Chicago can be very lucrative. There's so many opportunities, and I always came back and I worked jobs that fulfilled me, that interested me, that taught me something. So I was doing everything from, restaurant work is where I made a lot of my money. I got to meet a lot of tourists in Chicago who were dining at the restaurants. I got to learn about their countries and get more new ideas, learn about new cultures and languages. So it was a taste of travel when I was not traveling. And I did things like online marketing and just a lot of different things. I love spending time with kids. So I babysat and nannied. Anything that I could find that would make me money, I did, that I enjoyed and that was going to bring me happiness. I was not going to work. I didn't work for jobs that didn't value me or what I was capable of doing for them, or that I just didn't enjoy. So I worked in sales for 12 years for fragrance companies. So I traveled to different locations throughout a couple states. My bosses for that knew that I was someone who was going to travel when I wanted to. So they gave me the option to just ask for hours when I returned home. So I knew that I always had something to turn back to, whether it was restaurants or jobs that I worked. But I did travel but I never worked while traveling. I always worked when I returned home. I didn't want to take away from my time traveling.
So the big question is now, when did you decide, or when did you know that you were a travel coach?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right? Well, I always gave myself a cushion in my life to figure out what I was going to do. I was perfectly happy traveling for 10 years, on and off, working random jobs, and then seeing the world. I knew that I needed that time to figure out who I was and what I wanted out of life. And we often get so hard on ourselves for not knowing answers at certain times in our life. And that's really unfair for us to do to ourselves, because oftentimes, or most of the time, things come with experience and it's all a matter of timing. So we may not realize something or learn something until later down the road, which you can't fast forward in life. So I knew that I didn't know, for each moment in my life, I knew that there was more for me to know and figure out. So I gave myself that window of time. And therefore, I always said, when I'm 30, for some reason, I just threw a number out there and said, when I'm 30, I'll figure out my life. I'll figure out, where I want to kind of not settle down. I don't like to say that, but I don't know what I want to do and where I want to be. Because I knew that I was not going to want to hop around the globe for the entire rest of my life. I wanted other things in my life too, like a family and relationships, and to be with my mom and my dog and stuff too. So when I said, I'm 30, 30 came, and I had to figure things out. I was like, crap, now what? I went to work to the School of Internet, and I Googled what kind of jobs exist that people, I knew that I had to create something. That's the thing. I knew that I was searching forever. Nothing was out there that I was interested in when it came to travel. I didn't want to be a travel agent, a travel designer. I didn't want to plan and book trips. I had no interest in that. I didn't want to work for a company that quote unquote paid me to travel. And I didn't want to be a blogger. I didn't want to be a writer, an influencer. None of these things aligned with what I wanted to do. I had a very different take on what I wanted to do with travel, and I hadn't found anything that satisfied that. So I knew that I had to create something myself. What? I had no idea. So when I went to the School of Online, Google and YouTube to figure out what kind of options do people start, what kind of businesses do people start. I toyed around with so many different ideas in the very beginning of my journey, everything from like drop shipping, because I loved bringing back different types of things as gifts. So I wanted to make that accessible for those who didn't travel. But there's so much more that goes with that. And eventually I realized that's not what I really wanted to do. So I toyed with different ideas, but I knew that my travel experiences were really unique, that I loved empowering people to travel, telling them why it's important to travel, or pulling it out of them of why they really want to travel. And there wasn't a title to this. There wasn't someone I can turn to say, how did you do that? What do you do? How do you work with people? Or who do you help? But I knew that's what I personally was interested in doing, because it's what I had been doing throughout all my travels, whether it was through my blog, personal private messages, people messaging me, family and friends. I wanted people to experience the healing powers of travel, which we all do, but identify that, use that, and do something with it. And know that it was possible for people to travel on their own budget, on their own time frame, and they can incorporate travel in their life more than, just change the perspective on travel. A lot of times people think that you have to be really wealthy to travel, or it's one time a year, or that companies don't value that. So as I was doing research and I just started learning more about travel in the sense of the logistics of it. What kind of data and research is out there on the benefits of travel? How does travel impact our mental, physical, spiritual, emotional well-being? And as I was doing that, I also was paying attention to the conversations online and that I had with people, friends, family, people traveling on. I would always hear people say, well, I wish I could do that, or I wish I did go there, or one day, or if I could start over in life, I would do this over again, or I wish that my job would let me travel somewhere, or I didn't use my vacation days and I should have, or I quit the corporate world, I quit the 9-to-5 to travel. That's something you hear all the time. It's such like a trend. And I was like, well, that's really interesting that people are quitting their job to travel. And it's not that they are getting into the travel industry long term, it's just that they're using travel as that outlet, that temporary outlet that they need. So why? What is so powerful about travel? And that's what I was interested in. And that's where I started doing the research on the benefits of travel. And that also, through my personal stories and experiences, started diving into the corporate wellness and also business travel aspect, and how the business travelers were getting so burned out from travel. And because I had a story, I remember a business traveler I met on a plane, and he was we were on a long flight from like Thailand to India or something, and I was just in my midst of my backpacking days, and I had no point of why I was traveling, where I was going. I was just going anywhere. And he was obviously traveling for business, and we sparked conversation, and he was asking me, he was really curious about my journey and my travels. And here sat a man in a business suit who had everything right on paper. He had a great salary, a great title, a family, a marriage, a great house. I traveled for business, which people are like, yeah, I want to get paid to travel. And he was so unhappy. And he was like, oh, I wish that I could have done that, or I wish I could have seen that when I was there, or I don't do anything but stay in my hotel room and go to meetings. And I was like, well, that's like I didn't say this to him, but I was thinking about it years later, and I was like, well, that's a shame. Like, there's a reason why companies travel for business. There's proof and science behind how travel can help people in their work life. And that's when I started digging into all of that. And I also realized that there was the online coaching world was really booming. And I just put two and two together. I didn't see anyone who called themselves a travel coach. I didn't hear about the term travel coaching. Nothing. To me, it made sense. There were so many different business coaches, life coach, health coach, fitness coaches. I was seeing them all. And although I didn't hear the words travel coach, that is just something I knew that resonated with me. And I didn't care that I didn't see anyone who didn't call themselves that. I wanted to call myself that. And that's when I became a travel coach and figured out my niche in the corporate world. And then that's when I had people reaching out to me online saying, hey, like, what's a travel coach? That sounds interesting. Or that might be something I'm interested in, or I might be doing something already like that. Who did you learn it from? What'd you do? And I didn't have anyone to send them to, so I created the Travel Coach Network myself. So that's when I started both my businesses at the same time.
My God, Sahara. So that's, I suppose, being the pioneer here, right? So you need to set up the path and open lots of doors. But I love how you say these two powerful concepts, travel and coaching together, didn't exist, just I created it. And can I ask, how many years ago was that? It's something recent, right, that happened?
Yeah, it was 3 years ago, I think it was. Yeah, 3 years ago. End of 2018 is when I started my business journey, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I mean, and like any business, that especially two brand new concepts, it took me years to solidify and build a solid foundation for them, which, you know, I'm still working on, but as they both definitely have taken off. So I couldn't be happier with what I do.
3 years is like travel coaching is a baby, we can say that, right? So it's normal and it's expected that people still get to understand the concept, and we have lots of questions. I don't know, I suppose you also had this question, what's the difference between travel coaching and a travel coach and a travel advisor? What would you say?
Yeah, well, a travel advisor is still going to be someone who helps with that planning process and the booking process. A travel coach really, and usually a travel advisor is going to work for a company or work under an umbrella of someone else or something else. And the main difference, and I realize that there's a lot of different definitions out there of a travel coach. Some people are just travel agents and they're called a travel coach. So I had to define travel coaching within the Travel Coach Network. And it's a very broad topic because I really just created my definition based on what I wanted, which was just a way for me to find what it is that I knew and loved most about travel, me personally, and how could I build a business out of that. And that's what I inspire others who are travel coaches to do, which is find what it is that you know, that you are passionate about, that you have expertise in, knowledge in, because every traveler is different. Some focus on, you know, solo female travelers. Some are moms who travel. Some are Black women travelers. Everyone knows something different that another coach or travel expert doesn't know. And that is what I wanted to pull out of people and inspire them to really think about and figure out, well, what can I do with that? Because a problem I find in the industry, which is why even though I graduated with a degree in hospitality and tourism management, and I spent 10 years really diving into and learning about the different job options out there, is that when it comes to travel, job options get very pigeonholed into what you can and can't do. It's been already defined. So anyone who thinks of someone in the travel industry says, you must book trips. You must tell people where to go. You must plan trips for people. And I don't know why, if you're knowledgeable about travel and you're passionate about travel, why you have to do that. There's so many other things you can do with that information. And that's why I wanted to become a travel coach and inspire others who are travel coaches under my definition to find what it is that you want to do, who you want to help, how you want to help them, and what kind of impact you want to make. Not saying that you can't do the planning process, because a lot of travel coaching has to do with the mindset, and that can deal with the centered around the planning aspect. As for the bookings, no, because that is more of a travel agent. But there are a lot of travel agents who use travel coaching knowledge and approach for their marketing, for their branding, for their how they run their business, which I highly recommend people doing. It just is getting to know someone on a much personal level and understanding people as human beings with their own wants and needs, so that you can help, whether it's educate, inspire, empower, guide them on travel experiences that are really personal to them.
So I know how people who is listening now is thinking, yeah, I didn't know travel coaching exists. I maybe need, or I maybe want to hire a travel coach, or maybe I want to become a travel coach myself, right? So is this possibilities that there are now in the Travel Coach Network? Tell us more about the Travel Coach Network and the Travel Coach certification program. How can help people to become travel coaching?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was starting my own travel coaching business, where I focus personally in corporate wellness, business travel, hence why I'm here in this beautiful Florida, doing a presentation, but on transformative travel and wellness, those are the areas that I'm passionate about. As I was building my business, I wanted to, or I kept track of what that meant, what I did, what was necessary and not, and I put that into a program because I knew that I wanted to share with others who could resonate with my story and my path. I wanted to be able to share with them what I did or what to pay attention to, because when you're starting a business, there's so much noise out there. It's so easy to get lost into this funnel of what you should buy, do, listen to, try, anything. And you can get your vision and your intent can get lost in that. And I wanted to help filter that out for people who I worked with. So I created the Travel Coach network so I could build this community of global travel experts, passionate travelers looking to do more with their knowledge of travel and make a bigger impact and be unique and stand out and help break down the barriers of what is possible for a travel career in the industry. And then I built the Travel Coach certification program, which started out as just the Travel Coach program before it was accredited in 2020 through the International Coach Federation. So now it's the only program in the world that certifies travel coaches. And this program I love so much because it is more than just a coaching program. It's more than just a travel program. It's also a business program. I wanted to pour everything that I could into it that I knew helped me or give options of what could help someone else in their own journey. There's so many people that you can buy stuff from, or programs you can join, or certifications you can get online, where you're just left to do it on your own, or you're left with so many missing pieces of, okay, now what? Now I have this certification, like now what? How do I get clients? What do I do? How do I continue on in this industry that's ever changing, especially right now? And I wanted to create a community and a network and a program that I was able to be accessible and help people in a much more authentic and deeper way. And that is a huge difference between the Travel Coach Network and any other program or certification or just community out there. As you know, as you're part of it.
As I know. Sahara, I know if people want to know more about that, of course, I'm going to ask you after how they can contact you, how they can contact the Travel Coach Network. But I know there is an event coming up as well. There is a free online event. Can you tell us more about that and how people can join as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Women Thrive Through Travel Mastermind event is happening very soon on May 22nd. And this is our second annual one. And I created the Women Thrive Through Travel Mastermind event during the pandemic. And I did that because obviously the travel industry, hospitality industry took a huge hit on from COVID, as most industries did. But travel is something we have always turned to for healing, to de-stress, to connect. And these were all things that were either piled upon us during 2020 or taken away from us in 2020. You know, human connection, social interaction, exploration, discovery, and added stress, anxiety, worry, fear. So this coping mechanism of travel that we've always been able to turn to in our life, there was so much death and everything. I remember my grandmother passed away during 2020, and being able to travel was a way to celebrate her life and, you know, see family and or have time away to myself, and none of that was I was able to do. So I wanted to, and there was so much worry about the future of travel, especially for those who are in the travel industry who had a travel business. And I always believed and knew that travel is not going to go anywhere. It's definitely going to change, I believe, for the better. And there's a lot of reasons why, but it wasn't going to go anywhere. Travel is innate in us as humans. It was just a matter of time. So I wanted to create an event that sparked excitement and positivity around the conversation of travel, whether people were only travelers or they had a business or they were about to start a business or they wanted to start a business and travel, and bring together those people. So this is our second annual one. We have a lineup of amazing speakers, including yourself, who range from everything from transformative travel to travel storytelling to use in your business, traveling teachers, Black women travelers, travel podcast owners, everything. And I wanted to be able to provide a wide range of speakers and experts in the hospitality, tourism, and wellness to inspire, to empower, and to provide insight and to build connections with the audience. So that's on May 22nd, and I cannot wait because you are also a speaker for it.
I'm so looking forward to it. I cannot wait, and I know it's going to be amazing. Okay, Sahara, time flies when you are having fun, and we are arriving to the end of the interview, but I don't want to let you go until you share with us. You know, I love collecting hidden gems from all around the world. So where in your city, region, you think is a must? If we will go there, we must visit? What this could be?
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a great question. So I'm originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I've been back living in Wisconsin during 2020. And it's really a beautiful state. And there's this place in the far north of Wisconsin called Washington Island and an area called Sister Bay. And it's stunning. And when I went there, and I'm a world traveler, I don't travel much around the US. I went there a few years ago, and I could not believe I was in my home state or home country. And the water was so crystal clear, and the lakes, and the nature and everything. So I would definitely recommend visiting northern Wisconsin. But I also spent 7 years living in Chicago, and Chicago is a beautiful city of its own, but there's a little Japanese garden in Lincoln Park, which is right next to the free zoo that they have in there, but this little hidden place where you find the gate and you go into this Japanese garden. And it's my favorite place there. Not too many people know about it. It's right by the lakefront. And it just gives you a new little world that you just entered in this hustle bustle of the city of Chicago.
Wow, beautiful. I can imagine the Japanese garden. I would love to be there. Okay, Sahara, but last but not least, where people can contact you? What's the best way?
Yeah, so I'm here on Instagram. So I'm either Sahara Rose the Travel Coach or on the Travel Coach Network on Instagram. The same on Facebook. Or you can always visit the travelcoachnetwork.com and find me in the community through there as well.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Sahara, for your time and for sharing so much wisdom with us. And I wish you and everybody tuning safe and happy travels. Bye, Sahara. See you next time.
Bye, Sonia. Thank you.